What is up, Shark Nation? Welcome to another episode of the SharkPod. We've got Mark in the Carclo Hotel. They're our sponsors for today. They've graciously allowed Mark to have his own room to do the podcast. Mark, how are you doing?
Good, yeah. That's the beach there behind me for anyone watching on YouTube. It's an absolutely beautiful beach. But the hotel's it's a great little hotel in Carclo, just 5 minutes away from the beach. Highly recommended.
Okay, we're going to shout out then, and we're also going to put a quick link to a booking.com investment. They're actually not a sponsor at all. Mark just happens to be scabbing their wedding suite right now, doing a little bit of kind of espionage there. Anyway, Conor Sheridan is our guest today. Conor, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us on, guys.
We're delighted to have you on here. We're big fans of Mad Egg. We want to dig into how that came about, maybe a little bit about your story. Right now, this is such an interesting time for the hospitality sector. Crazy challenges going on out there. It's the 7th of August for people who are listening in the future. We just learned yesterday that there's a few shutdowns in the Midlands again for a couple of weeks. So it's something that's on a lot of people's minds here. But we're not going to dwell on the negativity. We're going to talk about the opportunities that are coming down the line as well. So Conor, maybe if you wouldn't mind giving the listeners a little bit of a background into kind of where you're from, Dublin, where you kind of went to college, all that type of stuff, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, great. Thanks again, guys. So I suppose I'm originally from Castleknock, so North County Dublin, just outside Phoenix Park there, for anyone who doesn't know. Went to college, did my undergrad in DCU in economics and law, and then worked for a little bit in tech sales, and for about 12-18 months went over, did a master's in London in economics again, looking to get into finance. So moved into investment strategy after that, and doing a bit of like quantitative trading and stuff. So super exciting. Well, not really. Very much like you watch movies like Wall Street and you're like gonna go in and be the big dog, and you go in and go, it's actually boring as shit, like sitting in front of a lot of spreadsheets. So
This is something that was so interesting when I was looking, because I just looked at because I obviously looked at the website for Mad Egg and all that type of stuff, and I'd read some articles as well that have been in papers and stuff, but I didn't realize that you were a Davey alumni as well. So we actually worked in Davey for about a month. When you started, I was working there as well, but we never crossed paths, obviously. But there's
small world.
It's a small world, but I know what you mean. When I started in Davey, I thought I was going to be this. I thought I was going to be, do you know, the guy from Wall Street with the big mobile phone on the beach, you know?
Yeah.
Big deals and stuff. And it was a lot of paperwork actually involved. It's
very much so.
And I remember that the only biscuits that they had there was Jaffa cakes. It was a bit bare, like, you know, and those little anyway. So never mind. So this is it's kind of interesting then. So you were in financial services at that stage, and did you kind of say, this isn't for me, I wanted to get into something a little bit more creative, or what was the push to get you out of that? Because some of my friends are still there in Davey, like 10 years later, you know? So
no, 100%. And look, in fairness, it's a great place to work, and the guys there are all great. I learned a lot there. I think like being financially savvy is really important, irrespective of what you do in life, business-wise or not. Having an understanding of how money works for you and or works against you is pretty important. So though I was in there with the guys, very much like a bit of naivety to going on like that kind of Masters of the Universe, Gordon Gekko buzz, and you're like, this is very much like not the case, and not never going to be the case. And but look, it was fine. And I was kind of, I'd say with him, I was there for about a year and a half. Within the first 4 or 5 months, I knew that it wasn't for me. So I was like literally probably working your 9 to 5 in there, and then also doing the CFAs. So after that, but then also after the CFAs, I was like, how the fuck do I get out of here? Apologies for cursing. How do I get out of here? So kind of working out a strategy for that. So that was where I really started to go, okay, let's just get a notebook out and just jot down anything I might be interested in that could become a business.
And Conor, was it hard after putting all the time and you know, effort into the likes of the CFAs? I know those exams are one of the hardest exams you'll ever do. Kind of that investment, you know, you done. Was it difficult to leave that all behind? You know, was that an issue for you?
Yeah, look, I think when it was a little bit further away from me when I was starting out, I was like super excited to go. Like, I can't wait, and I've always wanted to do something myself. And even to roll back before that, I'd looked at different ideas after college. I just didn't have the cash to do anything, so I was like, look, I'll just get into work. So then it was more of an excitement. And as it became closer, when I set myself a D-Day, I was crapping my pants. Like, I was like, I can't believe I'm actually going to leave all this, because there's no way back if you stay out for a while, really. Well, might not be true, but in my head, I was like, there's no way back here. If I leave this in the middle of the CFAs, in the middle of the team here, and say I give myself 12 months and it falls down, I personally don't want to come back with my tail between my legs. Number one, and number two, would they want me back to somebody younger, sharper, who's more bought in, that's going to stay there? So it was pretty daunting, but it kind of gave you a bit of a kick up the arse to go, there's no other option other than to make this work right now. Like, so. Yeah,
it's a big leap to make, because you're so kind of highly employable in the one area and almost too employable to go into other areas. Say it's either continue on as you're going, or take the leap into something entrepreneurial. But there's not a ton else you can do if the entrepreneur thing doesn't work and you don't want to go back to the finance thing. There's a few other things you can go into now if you think about it properly, but you might at the time you probably not think, Jesus, it's one or the other. You know, that's what makes the leap so hard to do.
100%. And I think like it's kind of a common mindset, and it's definitely one that I have, that you kind of have blinkers on in terms of what options you have in life as well. So initially I went to the restaurants because obviously we'll probably get to it a bit later, the Skueeze now, which is much more technology focused business that we have. But initially I was like, I couldn't start. I had a lot of ideas around different tech businesses and different things I wanted to do, and it just seemed so far away that I was like, I can't write a line of code. I'm not going to get involved in this. So the restaurant thing was like, if everything goes tits up in a restaurant, at least I can jump in the kitchen once I learn. That kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Even from that point of view, or even from finance, where you think like, okay, I can only work in finance, but if you have that skill set goes across every industry, to have a knowledge of how to actually to go deep dive into a business's structure and see how it can really drive performance. Like, if you can apply it to any industry and bring that skill set, because it's quite niche to be able to do it properly. So looking back now, like, you could have gone into any industry in the world, but back then it was very much that thought to go, look, if I leave this, I have no other choice. So yeah, it's a funny one. Like, for people out there listening, it's like, I think to get your head above water and see all the options you do have is really important.
I think the biggest one, that option, that people don't think about is a sales type of environment. You know, the barriers to entry are quite low. No offense, Luke, but they are. if you think about it, you know. So there's always, if you can sell, you'll never go hungry.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'd say so as well. But I remember that kind of blinkers on when I left Davey as well, because I was actually in the CFA process as well. After the first exam, I was like, okay, there's going to be another 3 years of this. I just don't know if this is going to be for me. And then it's instead of leaving and doing something, you know, productive by, you know, starting a restaurant that people love, I actually just went on a holiday for 2 years. But so we went a different way on that. Yours is probably a little bit more productive. But anyway, okay, so you're there. You hand in your notice. You say, okay, I'm going to start this business. Like, are you starting small right now? Is it going to be kind of like a catering business, or how did you kind of find the kind of like the chicken niche, or how did you decide on that? You know?
Yeah. So no, I decided to. I had like 3 different concepts in my mind that I was working through over a period of time, and they range from like it was a vegan slaughterhouse called the Green Hook, which was like very, very gimmicky based. So you come in and there's a lot of vegetables on hooks, everyone's in butcher's aprons and stuff like that. It was going to be in a restaurant, very niche at the time. So it was 2017, so it wasn't as widespread as now. And I was like, look, this is coming on an S curve, so let's get in there. Had kind of a version of Mad Egg, and then a ramen, like Japanese concept. Was just I really interested in Japanese cuisine. I think it's very good. It's not very well done in a lot of places, but if you could do it right in casual setting, it's good. But no, I had a location signed up on Dawson Street originally, handed in my notice, and I didn't have a co-founder at this stage, and went in, and then the deal fell through after I'd already left the business, which is already ideal. So fell through after all of that, and I was like, oh crap, back to the first step of this whole process again. And then it was so lucky in hindsight, because I was going in to do a concept that wouldn't have worked there, number one, and it was actually out of my it was effectively out of the budget, so it was taking on a lot of debt for that as well, so it wouldn't have been good. So use that it took me about 3 months to get going again, to finally get it on Camden Street. So I used that period of time. I was linking in with my co-founder over the previous 12 months, just kind of use him as a sounding board because he had a couple more restaurants going and stuff like that. It's kind of just said to him at that point, like, let's go for this. After I found Camden Street, so we actually signed the lease and then come up with what we wanted to do, which is not the advice I give people.
But this is it. It's like you pick the distribution channel. This is like me and my friend were talking about this the other day. There's this warehouse in Bray that is so cheap to rent for a year. Like we just seen that the lease was really small, and we were just thinking about what would we do with this. Like we could do kind of like maybe not now, but you could put like like some sort of like make it a party event, or you could put like trade shows, and I don't know, you could do something with it. Like, but we were trying to say, okay, if it's only going to be 25 grand a year, surely we can make more than that out of it. Do you know what I mean? But maybe that's what you guys are doing. So I don't know. I think it's a good way to do it. Also, Mad Egg, this is for people outside, because there's people in 27 countries that listen to the podcast, which is crazy. So people outside of the country who are listening to this, in Dublin, Camden Street is kind of, how would you describe it? It's a kind of almost bohemian feel to it. But I think you'd say in Dublin, and I think Mad Egg just kind of like fits into that quite well. Was that part of the concept? Did you try to do something for that area? Do you look at it?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I suppose we started out, or I started out back actually building the business on like a financial statement first. So you're kind of, first of all, trying to find locations that will fit a rental threshold for how much you're looking to sell, just to stay within budget. And then after that kind of narrows down your search to where you can afford to go, number one. And then you go, look, the brand we were going to do was always going to be that kind of bohemian type style, and a little bit more edgy than what was out there. So you pick the locations where you think that would fit the profile of people who go. So as you said, like Camden Street, if you want to use London as an example, could be like Shoreditch or something like that, whereby it's a bit edgier bars, edgier stuff like that. So, but it's a mix of the office crowd and stuff as well. So
yeah, still expensive though.
Yeah, it was very much.
Rent.
We got a pretty good deal on it in terms of at the time, because the units were in terrible conditions. So there was a bit of work to be done. But look, it was a mixture of that, and then looking down the line in terms of what's happening. So we used to go through development plans and stuff like that around the city to see what was being built, what's been signed off in terms of planning permission. So we saw that there was like about 15,000 more office workers going in there over the 5-year period. They're building a lot more apartments and stuff. So it just gives you a lot more exposure. So that was kind of how we picked that location. Like, as we started out though, in my mind, always wanted to grow quite quickly. So we'd actually had 4 or 5 locations picked out that we were ideally going to hit. It's a bit of a hubris, but
whereabouts were they? Where were the other locations, out of interest?
The other one was where we're at, around Millennium Walkway, Jervis Street. Just it's an absolute. Where the second one opened, it was a funnel of people. It just felt like it really fit that. Blanchetown was one that we didn't get into yet, and then Tala, and there was just around it, the kind of Exchequer Street, Drury Street area.
Okay.
So we ended up Jervis Street, then Dundrum, and before this, we actually were 2 days away from starting building on Exchequer Street, and a month out from Temple Bar. So we were also opening, but we pressed pause on that.
Okay.
I suppose just to give an overview to people listening, it's a fast casual brand that focuses on like free range fried chicken. So we partnered with the Smith brothers. So they were the first ever free range farmers in Ireland. They developed the license for the Department of Agriculture for free range farming. So like we call them the chicken bosses. So literally the best product you can get. And obviously the idea behind it was chicken's the most sold protein in Ireland by a long way, but it's probably one of the worst prepared or focused on in a restaurant. So it was an afterthought to go, look, this person's a picky eater, they'll just do that. But we're a nation of like chicken fillet roll enthusiasts, and we love chicken, and fried chicken done well is a whopper product. So the idea was like there's a market there. It's also like you can look at other countries. It was working really well in the UK, in the US, around more cosmopolitan cities. So that was the concept behind it. Just nail a really simple but really good product at a good price point. Add a lot of kind of edge around the brand. Find your voice and really try to connect with an audience. And like if people like it, they'll come back. So simple in theory, complex to deliver. But that's like anything.
Actually, I watched the video. There's a video, I believe, kind of a quick interview with where the chicken comes from on the website of that. I love how that kind of, with a casual restaurant, you don't usually get that kind of farm to fork feeling at all. You know, like it's you know, if you just go for a chicken roll, like I said, I've had some chicken rolls where I said to said to my wife while we were eating them, said, I wonder when this chicken died. Was it a long time ago? Like it's like, made of rubber, and also because I had chicken, I was in a restaurant last night and I knew you were coming on today. So I kind of like chicken on the mind, knowing you think you're going to, you're thinking about somebody coming on the podcast and you're kind of seeing bits and pieces around that. I was in a restaurant and I saw somebody, so I got like a steak and I saw the person beside me, they ordered chicken and it looked like the most boring piece of it. It was like, why would you go out to get this chicken? Do you like it away? And I think, like I said, most of chicken in Ireland is like that. Even like in pubs, you might get like a chicken supreme, which is just a piece of roast chicken with no salt or anything. And
I think of the phrase, I'll just have the chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
That should, why, you know what I mean? And I have to just say, Conor, the Mad Egg is the best chicken burger I've ever had by far. So just to tell people out there, they know already, I'm sure anyone in Dublin knows it, but it's just unbelievable. But it's, for me, I like good service and I like attention to detail. And I think Mad Egg has just, everything is attention to detail. Even the music I heard, was carefully thought out. Can you tell us a bit more about the kind of amount of attention to detail you've put in?
Yeah, 100%. Like I think obviously the food, and I would have said it before, if the food has to knock it out of the park, it has to be unbelievable. There's so much competition. Like on Camden Street initially was 150 restaurants in like 200 meters. So your competition in terms of like, and they're all similar price points. So it could be between 10 to 25 quid. So they're all your competition, irrespective of what they're selling. So there's only a finite number of people. So you need to, we always say to the guys, like we had a team meeting on Friday, for example, we set out like quarterly objectives for the business as a collective, and then we work towards it. But we don't call ourselves restaurants. Call ourselves we're aware of that. Call ourselves experience business. So everything we do is every start of every session we map out the best in class customer journey or experience from when they might phone a restaurant all the way to when they pay the bill. Every single touch point for what they do and what they experience, and then we work out where we think we're at for each individual restaurant, and we try to pull it up to have it everything into a positive experience. So like that, when you come in to go, what's the greeting like? How are you engaged? Like it's not like you're giving people a script or anything, but you just want to make sure these people are the ones putting money into the business. If they don't come back, we're not going to have a business. So it's like from that side, but we also want to grow the business. So you need to be the best in the market that experience. So they would have, from setting up, we looked at from a brand point of view, who are we targeting? Who did we want to come in? And then it was like, what's their taste profiles like? What are we like? And how can we blend these? So from a music point of view, we use kind of more edgy hip hop, but even like from a detail point of view, it's like different days for different music, different shifts. So for Friday night, for example, you want something bassy, something pumpy, get people a lot of energy, so they might buy more booze, but they have a better time, stuff like that. On a Sunday afternoon, it'd be more casual. It's a different demographic. It's probably people who are either hanging, eating out together, or my families and stuff. So it's just like having awareness of like why people go out at certain periods of a week or a day over that, or even seasonality and stuff. So from then, and then how we structure the rooms and stuff, you want to build atmospheres. So we have different, obviously, heights of tables, and where they're positioned in the room is actually to have sound and acoustics around, stuff like that. So just trying to build a massive experience, everything that goes into that. And then it's how we deliver the food, how Instagrammable is it, because that's a big part of the customer journey. They come in and they want to share where they're eating, because that's part of their personal brand, to say, look, I'm out here, I'm in this place. And if you're lucky enough to be considered cool, they want to share that with their friends. And you need to have enough of a brand presence for them to go, oh, where is that? I want to go there. Or something like that. So that's even part of it as well. So there's a lot that goes into it.
And
just kind of make a daily food.
Is that all stemming from you, Conor, mostly, or is it who else was involved in that whole process?
Yeah, it's with myself and my business partner. We would have sat down and worked out like that whole experience together. Just gone like, look, what do we want to deliver? First of all, you take your own personal experiences, what we thought was great, what you thought wasn't, but then you try to fit it to your own brand and go, what does best in class look like? Like for any business, whether it's Mad Egg or whether it's Skueeze, like the idea, even if it's a chicken restaurant in Dublin, you have to go, what can we be the best in the world at? And that has to be the mindset to go, can we be the best fried, it's a small niche, but can we be the best fried chicken restaurant in the world? What goes into that? How do you do it? It's best product, but it's best experience, it's best of that. Because from my point of view, if you can't be that, there's not a whole lot of point in doing it. Like,
yeah.
There's so many angles that you can come at that with. It's something that when you go in and you like order your food, you're not even aware of all of those aspects that have gone into it. You can kind of geek out on anything about the business, like I said, the acoustics, the atmosphere, all that type of stuff. So really interesting there. And then when When you got going, was it a immediate success? Did you have to find your feet for the first year or anything like that? Or was there a good kind of response from the public at the beginning?
It was pretty crazy. So I would have worked on full time on the floor in the kitchen for the first restaurants. So it's kind of like just trying to manage that whole experience and really build it, the ethos and the team, and just be on. And I had to obviously do that. So there's not much of a choice. At a small business, like you have to be everywhere, all over it. But no, we started off. Remember the first 2 weeks we opened because we were just on the corner. We didn't have a whole lot of customers. People didn't know about us. It's like, how do you get word of mouth out? So that's kind of, we had a social media strategy, but we would have accelerated, and that's when we really started to go look, like from one side, who were like micro influencers in the area that you could reach out to. Wouldn't give them any money or anything, but we go, look, we're a new business, come in here if you like it, post about it. If you don't, you don't have to pay for your food. And then it's kind of like build up a relationship with these people over time. And then they started, like, it was kind of like all happen at once. I think it was like the second week with like 20-30 of them posted, and sales went up by like 200 and something %, and then it didn't look back, like queues around the corner and stuff. So it was a little bit too much too quick as well, so it was a bit of a shit show. Trying to manage that. A lot of apologies, a lot of meals comes from people, stuff like that. But it was insane in terms of that kind of feedback that summer. And then it enabled us then to open up the second one within 4 months of the first one, which was like a quick turnaround. That probably also wasn't the best business decision in terms of the first one hadn't even found its feet in terms of processes and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah.
And out of interest, Conor, like when you were looking around at what best in class looks like, were you looking around Dublin? Were you looking around America, UK? How far afield did you look?
Everywhere. So obviously we're focused on like fried chicken and a specific style of it. So we went to Nashville, which is like the home of it. Ate in all the best places there. New York, went to the used to go to the food festival that's on in September there as well, and try out all the best joints there. The UK as well. Just as many places we could get to. Like beyond cooking our own ones, I'd say I probably tried like 10,000 different like chicken sandwiches like across different countries, and then we went in and obviously started specializing in our own one. Hey, and like that's obviously one niche, but then you go to every other place that you hear good things about in terms of like this place is a great brand or a great vibe. You look at places that really connect with their audience and you go, why are they connecting? It's not just because they're cool, but like there has to be a whole lot of like I think there's like that Maslow hierarchy of needs for businesses. So you have the functionality of a business. So like what do you deliver? And then it's like the experience then, or sorry, the like kind of visuals and other things. And you get to the top, it's like, how do you create a meaningful experience? Because no one's ever had a bad, meaningful experience. So it's like, how do you connect at that level with an audience or with a customer to make them really, really feel attached to your brand? So you find other people who do that, because there's a lot of good examples of that. And then you start to just really deep dive in their businesses to go, what are they doing that's really connecting with people? It's not just their product, because like it can be really, really good, but there's obviously a lot of really, really good places out there that can do products.
And that was obviously the chicken burger. Another thing that people think of when they see Mad Egg is the cheesecake, which is unbelievable also, and huge. How did the research go for that? What did you do for that?
Yeah, the idea was twofold. It was like, I want to do something that's like messy, it's good crack, it gets people playing and like kind of engaging with a product to go, look, like I can actually make my version of it. And then it's like the second round of that is I want to share what I've created with people. So then it's like an emotion, like on social media and stuff like that. So it was like twofold to say like they can have emotional connection with it. But number one, it was very much like get people messing around, whether on a date or whether with their friends. You know what I mean? You just pouring chocolate and throwing stuff all over it. It's really messy. It's just like, there's no frills to it. Either with the burgers, you take a bite out of one, it's going all over your face, and you have to appreciate that. Like, you're not going to go in there, just take your makeup off before you go. Like, but yeah,
second date, maybe not a first date. Second date, maybe.
Get a lot of first dates in. It's funny.
That's confidence.
Yeah, big time.
So once that got off the ground, that was, what year was that? 2016 or something like that, was it? 2018.
So March 2018.
2018 only. Okay, so it's only been really going for
2 years. Yeah.
Years. It seems, and that just goes to speak to the brand, because it seems like it's been around for a long time. But you know, that kind of spinning as zeitgeist. And then when the new business is kind of a software as a service model for restaurants, and that's brand new. That's something that you're developing right now. It's called Skueeze, right?
Yeah.
And what kind of made you go from a jump from successful restaurateur, growing that business, and then did you see like a gap in the market through that business that you were looking to fill, scratching your own itch here?
Yeah, big time. So like obviously we still have massive growth plans for Mad Egg, and it's definitely a journey that once we can try and get through this storm for however long it lasts. But it came from scaling the business quite quickly. So it was 3 restaurants in like 14 months, and they were getting bigger each time, the restaurants. And with that comes its own different set of problems. So you're trying to, like, from the outside in, it might not seem a massively complex business, but they're really, really complex businesses to run. There's so many different touch points and there's so many different data points to really get a handle on in terms of like where your sales are coming from, who's buying, how they're buying, what triggers demand. Could be external factors like the weather or events or concerts and stuff that are happening that have massive ups and downs, and then how you plan down the line to say, look, this is how much your team you need in, or just how much product you need to have on site to make sure you're not throwing stuff away, you're not like having high wastage. And even beyond that, like just so many different decisions and touch points. And ultimately, like as you scale out and more people come on the team, the variability in decision making or good decision making is massive, and that's what either makes you profitable or not profitable. So it's an industry with a high turnover rate, irrespective of how well you can treat your staff as well. So it was kind of just a lot of different compounding factors, and we found initially as we scaled from 1 to 2, we saw profitability drop across both restaurants because you can't be in both places at one time. So it led me to start kind of building more automated systems in the back end for the restaurant, using kind of that experience in Davey's and stuff to model. So would have built like regression analysis and stuff to really try and forecast sales, what impacts how our sales come through and stuff like that. Like what triggers demand, where can we push them out to try and get more people through the door, and then work down the line to go like how can I automate ordering, automate scheduling and stuff like that, just to try and make decision making kind of linear across the businesses. And look, we were able to bring them up, and then we were able to bring our profitability up to a level that was like almost 3 times the industry average. So we got a couple of offers to be bought out last year
already,
by some of the biggest players in the space, and they were obviously deep diving on our financials and stuff like that to say like this is really impressive, like what do you do here and what's your approach and stuff like. And they asked, part of the caveat for them was that we'd come and jump in and manage their other portfolio of businesses. These would have been big private equity funds that own loads of different brands. They were like, if we buy your brands, you keep growing that, but you also apply that management approach to our other portfolio brands. So basically working for them, which wasn't really something that I was overly interested in doing. So that was that, but it allowed us to then go into these massive chains that are like 100, 500,000 locations, and see that like if you're at a certain level, you have all the systems in place in terms of like technology systems, the operating systems and structure that those chains have, and like even if you get up to 100 or 200 locations, the inefficiencies are still there, and they're almost compounded even more for each location. So the variability in each, like the reason why their profit margins are so low is because one location could be trading great, second one could be trading great, but it's not performing well because it's not being managed right, and it's just such an up and down across it. So I saw a massive gap there to kind of take that system that we built for us and take it to the next level. So partnered with a data scientist who would have had 15 years kind of AI and data science experience, and a product guy, John, as well, who's 18 years in the Valley as a product designer, and he was actually a VC, a venture capitalist over there as well. So just pulling together a really good team over the last few months, and we decided to go, what can we build here to actually allow these businesses to harness unbelievable amounts of data to just maximize their profitability. So that's where the idea for Skueeze came from. So we effectively sit as like a neural center in a business. So we sit in between all the operating systems. So pull data out of your points of sale, your labor management, your inventory, anything, your social media, your accounting platforms, and act as like a flywheel to then use artificial intelligence to learn from that data to see what really impacts your business, and then push out decisions on the ground to every single outlet in a chain to go, look, you need to do this, this, and this. But like the biggest problem with data science, as you guys have probably come across, is you have loads of graphs and charts and different things. You have to infer them, interpret them, and then like that's where the execution falls down. Like nobody wants to see a graph and a chart. So we present it in such a way where it's like, buy 10 lemons, roster John and Mary between 6 and 9, push this button for a promotion, because like it's very much like just one click and go, but that kind of complexity is completely masked in the background. So yeah, we've got a lot of traction on it in terms of people wanting to use it. So it's been going well.
I can't believe that hasn't been invented or created already.
Yeah, so
there you go.
Kind of interesting. It's the this the next step in these types of businesses, these scales businesses, is the AI or the like I said, taking the, like you can see it with automated cars, basically, where there's going to be a decision that is going to be made in the next 10 years, probably, where okay, is it socially okay to drive if the computer is going to be better than you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be that kind of switch over, and we have a similar thing in HubSpot where our data ops team, or our kind of a business intelligence team, they have a really big say in management decisions now, because it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to launch this product we're going to launch product this month, but instead, because of X, Y, and Z, the AI is actually telling us that we should wait 3 months. You know, because all the factors that go into it. So super interesting. So and with this type of business, where let's say, like you said, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you have 100 locations all over the UK, whatever. How can you? It's so difficult for you to train managers to think like the founders. So maybe you're kind of taking those decisions not away from them, but suggesting these are the best, given what we know, these are the best courses of action to take. Is that what the product would do?
Yeah, pretty much. So like the industry, like I suppose for us, like we start off with AI, and then first in terms of decision making. So, and then it comes into more machine learning as you get more data points, but it takes a long time. So like for us, like our goal is like probably 100 outlets by the end of this year, and then 400 or 500 by the end of next year. So we're trying to get as much data points as we can. Initially, like what we do is, like in this space, like you're always reacting. So much to do. It's too little time and so much to do. So like all those decisions are massive in terms of managing profitability, but they're not massive to somebody on the ground in terms of their incentive to get through their day. You're dealing with all the shit from like what's happening in the kitchen, somebody not turning up, or customer issues, and all those different types of things. So like we're not trying to remove the decision making. It's very much a support metric. From our point of view, it's like building advocacy on the ground through the people who are going to use it ultimately, to say, look, we're the first thing you want to check every day and the last thing you want to check every night, because we know we have your back in terms of making the right decisions, because a lot of their kind of financial rewards are based on hitting targets and stuff like that. And ultimately then for a wider group, like if every location in a chain is hitting it out of the park, then that's going to be way more profitable as well. Yeah. But so it would have been like the kind of learning piece to it is like it's automated to the point of every decision that gets made, that it learns from our results. So if we make a bad recommendation and it doesn't hit its target, we know to not put a good weighting on that, and it'll learn the next time, stuff like that. So
it's steady. And what's the kind of go-to market strategy there? Are you going to put it in kind of like strategic brands first and say, give them a really good deal on that to get that data, or is it going to be like a sales team, pushing?
No, look, very much in learn by doing stage at the moment. So we want to be we're in 7 different brands who have like up to 35 locations at the moment, and we're rolling out across 5 or 6 of the biggest ones around Ireland the next quarter. The idea is like, very much like we're coming in there as business case creation for the next 5-6 months, just to go, look, let us move the needle as much as we can with your business. It's not about like, ultimately you need to get them to pay for it, because that's a proof point in itself as well at some point. But it's not want to go giving people stuff for free. But initially it's not about revenue generating so much at the moment. It's about like proven product market fit. And then for like go to market, we're going to look into an official launch in January, and that'll be very much around like trying to scale the business then.
Perfect. Yeah. And how long did it take to actually get something that was like a beyond a proof of concept for a product, but like a functional thing that you could actually offer to these guys, from like the idea stage to actually getting into restaurants? How long does that take generally?
For me, it was, I suppose, but I had something working as a mini proof of concept in our own restaurants, and then we went through an accelerator with the NDRC in spring, which really helped. So probably 6 months from my initial version to getting the team together. So 6 of us now, because initially it was myself and an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah. So 6 of us now, and then we've got the whole back end engine really churning now. So that went in, and it's in locations and adding value. Like obviously we're a good bit away from like really clean UI and stuff like that, but like that productizing bit comes next. It's just about showing the value first.
It's amazing.
Luke is a big fan of the kind of SaaS model, the kind of monthly subscription. We were just talking about that, Luke. Like,
Yeah.
Conor, what would be the kind of key components that you need to create that type of business? You know, you mentioned a product person, a data scientist, the idea generation in the first place, obviously. What are the kind of key components? And was the accelerator, do you think it's essential? Tell us a bit more about that.
I think for any business, the problem, a really hair on fire problem is the first thing you need. So like, you don't, there's a lot of people go out and create solutions for problems that don't exist, or create solutions for problems that kind of exist, but people will go, meh, like I would buy it, but if I have a bad week, I wouldn't buy it. And that's not where you want to be. Because that's first of all, it's finding out like what's, from your own learnings, your own experience, like what's the biggest problem a business or a person or people face, and why do they face it, and have an understanding of that, and then you can start to idea generate to go, look, how could I solve this? That was the first step for me, obviously having the experience going through it, and then I was kind of going, well, is that just me? But then there was a lot of like networking to go around, and all different levels of the industry, from the top chains to the mom and pop shops, to go, are you guys, how do you run your business? Like, what's the, like, do you focus on growth? Do you focus on cost? What are your pain points and stuff? And then you see a massive correlating factor through all these businesses, and you're able to go, look, this is why this is happening. And Accelerator isn't a necessity for people, but like, look, they offer a really good mentorship. They really pull your business ideas apart. They force you to really think about what you're doing. It's really good. First of all, no matter what business you go into, you lads, or even, you know, like, it's the personal risk. Because you're spending your life, your time. It's going to be like a lot of hours of every week in it, not just the financial risk. So you need to make sure you really believe in it, and there's a de-risk it to a point that it's going to work before you're going to spend all this time in it. So from that point of view, it's really valuable. Obviously, they invest in the business as well, which is good. And then they'll give you exposure to like different areas of a market you wouldn't have exposure to, like follow-on investors and stuff like that. So from my point of view, yeah, it was massively valuable. But like, if other people could take a different approach, there's no one fits all approach for anyone, I don't think. Very
good. And is that where you got the introductions to the data scientist and the product guy?
Actually. Yeah, in fairness, the product guy was a mentor on the program, and so he came to join the business after that. And
what does the product? Sorry, what just for our listeners, what does the product person actually do?
So yeah, he'll work like very much start with experience first. So the whole idea for us is, how do you create the most delightful customer experience? Because you can have something that adds massive value, but if somebody doesn't want to use it, then it's not worth the shit, like, really. So it's working from that base up to go, what emotional drivers these people have, like, and then how can you build that up into a product in terms of the different interactions, the different flows? Because it's like anything, like, not only if you're trying to buy something on an e-commerce site and something stops you and you don't check out, like, you've lost somebody. Try to do that in a B2B setting. Those different interactions and everything is so important, but you have to understand how they work in a real life setting, and like what format. There's a lot of complexity. So he works from the base all the way back up to that, and all the way through the visual design and stuff like that. So yeah, he would have run a product company called Zerb in Silicon Valley, so in product design. So lots of experience in that.
Super.
I think it's so good to have somebody that has that experience to kind of scope out what a project would be like. Because how many times I've talked to some people that I know in tech, and they're like, I think this is a good idea, and they're like, yeah, that's a $500,000 proof of concept to build. So I hope you've got some cash. I'm like, no, I don't. So I'm going to leave that one for now. Just circle back and
love that.
Later on. Yeah,
circle back.
Circle back on that. But,
just never see them again. Like,
yeah, exactly. Back on that. No, because I've had a lot of ideas with a friend of mine in HubSpot as well, about the different kind of SaaS models that we would like to maybe do soon or in the future. So it's really interesting to me as well. I was also interested that I know they're connected, but what you're from what you've told me today, like, usually if I spoke to somebody who was just into restaurants and the food and that type of stuff, you would assume that their next venture would be something connected to that. But this is connected, but it's completely different kind of industry product. But I'd say all of those the financial aspects and the modeling, like you said, that you learned almost like in Davey, it goes back to the financial kind of CFA stuff, kind of feeds in a lot more to your businesses than a usual entrepreneur. Like, if you went down to, I live in Greystones here, if you went down to one of the restaurants here that it's kind of like just a passion project, I'm not sure that they would have all the regression modeling that you're using there. So I think that's really that's a big part of the success too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think people who are in finance who want to do what you did, Conor, like maybe they're underestimating their ability. You know, I know as an accountant who opened a recruitment business eventually, running the budgets, the forecasts, all that kind of stuff, that came quite natural to me and was definitely a string to my bow. So I think there is skill sets that you can have in maybe opposing industries that can be beneficial.
Yeah, I think it's all. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just think it comes back to de-risking everything that you're doing. So you try to bring in all the different skills that you have and add it in. And then anything you don't have, you just get the right people that can do it as well.
Plug it in. Okay, cool. So what's the vision for Skueeze? Is it going to be something that's going to be UK and Ireland first, or are you going to be launching in America as well? What's the go to market there?
Yeah, so UK January and then US 2022 Q1 is the plan. Like, look, it's pretty far. Confident we'll do it, but and that's their North Star in terms of where we're going and for a roadmap. But obviously, I'm a very big proponent of if you go further than 6 months in front of your face, you're talking a lot of shit as well. So you just need to attack what you're doing now, execute on it, deliver on it, and then you can do the next part. But it's definitely a plan to try and, I suppose, not to sound cheesy, but empower as many businesses as you can around the world to do something. So
class. And it's like 6 months. It seems like a long time in these kind of COVID times as well. Every week things are changing and information is coming out and that type of stuff. So hopefully by 2022 things will be back to somewhat normal as well, and then you can really start to plan with confidence, I think, for everybody's business.
Yeah, big time.
For Mad, Conor, what kind of pivots did you have to make, to facilitate, things that are going on at the moment and the restrictions and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was massive difference. Like for us, luckily, I suppose, we had a bit of we were, as I said, coming in the line, we had location 4 being started to be built in March, 5 triggered for end of April, and we were actually building a farm with our farmers that was supposed to start in May. So Mad Egg Farm, in terms of just purely farm to fork. We're still going to do all of those things. We pressed pause, obviously, luckily in February, because it was kind of escalating. It wasn't just something that was happening in the eastern part of the world. It was moving around. So yeah, we never had any kind of off-premise before then, which is, looking back, was massively naive. But we were very much back to that experience to say we want to control everyone's experience when they come into the restaurant. If the food leaves the restaurant, then you have zero control. Not zero, but you're very limited control over what happens or how they enjoy it and the feedback loop and stuff like that. So we didn't. So we closed in, it was like the 10th of March and then reopened for takeaway on the 15th. So 5-day turnaround. We had builders in on the 12th. So had to strip everything out to make it socially distanced and more accessible for the guys, restructure the kitchen so they could have their own workspaces and stuff. And we launched on delivery and pickup then straight away and worked all through lockdown, which was number one was trying to keep the guys in work. And we kept our team together, which was great. And then number two is just keep the brand relevant. So I tried to deliver some sort of experience through it, because people can see it all the time or still order from me, and your loyal customers and your advocates still can get from you during the hardest times, and it will resonate with them when you kind of open back up. So yeah, challenging time, but we look at it to go it's an opportunity to stop, really look at the business in terms of what's working, what's not working in terms of the operational stuff, and come out way stronger. So when this does go, hopefully, we pass this period, that will be first out the gates in growth mode in terms to go, we'll do this, this, and this, and this. We're working with other crowds as well around cloud kitchens and stuff. So something we've been testing to see if we can actually test out areas. So we're probably be going into 1 or 2 different suburban areas in the next 3 months to do solely online Mad Egg. So just delivery, just pick up, or just delivery and take out and stuff.
So that's an interesting concept as well, because I heard about this on another podcast in passing, but I didn't really know the kind of ins and outs of it. So a cloud kitchen would be a location where you're delivering Mad Egg products, but there's no public facing location. Yeah. Is that how that works? And then it's purely you order it and okay. I guess that must be interesting from a cost point of view. Maybe you can, if you don't have that, you don't have to have that kind of branding and stuff, and all the furniture, all that type of stuff as well. Is that attractive to you guys as well? Do you think that'd be?
Yeah, I think so. The online piece showed the demand for it within. Obviously, it's a little bit skewed in that people have way less options to do anything. So it's going to be more demand. So you might take a decent percentage off that. But I think what it did prove is that beforehand, I would have been very much of the idea that you're only going to order from a restaurant or a brand that you know. And I think over the last couple of months, it's accelerated that. If there's a good rating on it, there's positive feedback or reinforcement on it, I don't care if the place has a building anywhere. You just like send me the food, and if it's really good, I'll order it again. So like it's kind of opened up that stream. I think it's good for other like entrepreneurial food people as well, because it's a much lower barriers of entry to set up something. So I do think it's really going to take off in the next like 24, 36 months. So for us, yeah, I'd be excited to see how we can do it. And it's definitely it's a growth opportunity in an environment whereby growth is not a word people are using. Like,
yeah, that's really.
Conor, would you have like a network of restaurateurs, entrepreneurs, you know, that you could run ideas by, and especially during this kind of time at the moment? Do you have like a network of people that get together?
Yeah, we do. Like, it took a long time to build that up, to be fair, because part of setting up your own business stuff, it's very isolating in terms of you're always kind of questioning yourself, and if you don't verbalize and get kind of people to talk through, it's difficult. But yeah, there'll be a good few operators in the space you talk through stuff with. Can be a little bit competitive. Some people can be like that, but like if you approach it just as open book to go, like, I don't need to know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about your business. Like, I'm just trying to try to share an idea with you from a different perspective. I think people are open enough. Like, yeah, built it up over time. Wouldn't be a big network, but it's definitely a couple of key people there. I'd bounce everything off.
Yeah, I think it's very useful, and the competitiveness just needs to be put aside at times, and it can be done without that kind of standing on anyone else's toes. I think it can be done.
Definitely, yeah.
No, Mark, you hanging out with other recruitment entrepreneurs, or?
Well, I do, yeah. Well, I do, but we have a similar investor, so we all get together and we have a chat. You know, it could be 10, 15 other companies around Ireland and the UK, and none of us kind of compete directly against each other. So look, we find it very beneficial. You get to see trends, you get to see what's really happening out there. So that's the benefit I have anyway.
What's it like working with James Can?
Great, yeah. Well, I have to say that because this is a live podcast now. So no, James is super. He's obviously he'd be the Alex Ferguson of recruitment. So yeah. That's where he's made his fortune, and he's very clued into the Dublin market as well, which is very impressive for someone who, you know, lived on a yacht in Monaco for a long time. But he's very, very clued in. You have to know your stuff, which is fair. You know, he's not afraid to deep dive into things. Yeah, really nice guy. Just probably what you see on the Dragons Den. He's a nice one.
Yeah, I read his book. It was actually really impressive, his approach to stuff.
Yeah, everything James says has weight behind it. There's no filler. You know, everything is kind of just makes sense and has impact. Yeah, very good guy. Very lucky.
I also read Disrupted as well. I don't know if you've read that, relating to HubSpot.
Is that the guy who goes undercover?
Yeah.
I haven't read it. I read kind of excerpts from it. That was about, I think it was 2013, 2014 or something like that, when it was still kind of startup-y. It's good. Actually, it's a great place to work, but it is definitely more corporate now. There's nothing, you can't really get away from that when they've got locations all over the world, and there's, you know, thousands of people coming to Zoom meetings, that type of thing. You know, it's not the kind of startup vibe. But his impression is, it's a lot of the things that he is annoyed about, I actually quite like, because I think it's aimed at me. Like, you know? So
exactly.
I like drinking beers with people at work. I like the kind of the energy of getting everybody pumped up. I know a lot of compared to, and again, no kind of disrespect to Davey, but it's a different vibe in HubSpot. Like, and they're trying to make everybody feel good all the time, which is not possible. So sometimes they go too far with some things, and it can be a little bit cringy, especially for Irish people. The Irish office is actually, if it's not the biggest now, it might be the biggest soon with the headcount, because it's grown so fast. But it's a great place to work. But there's definitely, if you're not into the kind of the startup vibe, the beanbag chairs, if you're looking at this and thinking, is this the best, way to spend shareholders' returns, then it's obviously going to be it's a harder sell for that. But it's a great place to work.
Though.
It works. We had our biggest month ever, in July, which is crazy in these times, you know. So we're continuing to grow, continue to be really successful. So, like I said, I take a lot of the guys' points. So Mark, who maybe hasn't read that, some kind of guy in his, I think he was in his 40s, perhaps.
He's in his 50s. Yeah, he's a Newsweek journalist. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a kind of a journalist who went kind of undercover in HubSpot, and he worked there, and he wrote an article as well. I think it was called "My Year in Startup Hell." I think it was called.
Yeah.
And basically, Mark, his whole thing was, this is it's so gimmicky that it makes it uncomfortable to, like, I don't want to be around lots of people having beers in the kitchen. This is all, kind of complaining about how the culture was really manufactured. And a lot of these tech companies, it's on purpose. The whole thing is to, like we talked about before, we talked to people at Google on the podcast as well, and it is designed to make it as comfortable as possible for you to stay longer. Also, when it's such a good place to work, I'm not just talking about HubSpot, I mean these tech companies, when it's such a good place to work, the work rate of people goes through the roof, and their stress goes up as well, because they don't want to lose this. They don't want to go back to working for an Irish kind of a traditional company in an office with the bad lighting and the uncomfortable chairs, and sit in your chair until
just like one type of coffee.
Yeah, just one type of Jaffa cake. How are you going to live like that, Conor? So my point is, like, sure, the new office has a prosecco on tap.
It does, yeah.
But that's what you've come to expect.
That's what you get in Greystones anyway, Luke, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, it's a great place to work. I actually think it's a good thing. It's kind of like a lot of people talk about the footballers. They make X amount, crazy money all the time, but they're the ones that are actually providing the product. They should get, like, where else is that money supposed to go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with staff in those tech companies, if they're delivering, like somebody in Google, like a salesperson in Google might sell 2 or 3 million euro worth of product a year.
Yeah.
So, paying for their lunch, that's a great return on investment. Do you know what I mean? So
100%. You have to take care of your people, like, and just, it's that kind of ethos of, like, as you said, treat your people as best you can, like, because they're going to work incredibly hard, and they know that, but you might as well give them all the bells and whistles. Whereas instead of being like, you should be lucky you're happy you're working here and now deliver. not that anywhere that I've worked is like that. I'm just saying, like, that
no, but you'd be surprised at how, like, the performance at, even in HubSpot, like, everybody is so obsessed with doing well. And I think it doesn't come from, like, the management style in HubSpot isn't real pressure from the top at all. It's just, they've provided such a good place to work that you want to stand out. You want to achieve, because you'll get rewarded in asymmetrical way, So anyway, so the guy who wrote Disrupted, I'm sorry he didn't have a great time. And maybe, maybe that was a few years ago as well. But for instance, like, I think HubSpot goes to show that how well it's been managed, because the two guys who started it are still the number 1 and 2 in the company, and it's a $10 billion company. That kind of never happens, really. Very few times, it's usually the board kind of push them out.
Yeah, it's that kind of Icarus. Once you get into that level of investment, fly as close to the sun as you can. If you don't hit the target, you're out the door. Like,
yeah, exactly. So we've been lucky enough since I started there for just over 3 years ago, and like, what we did last month would have been a whole quarter's target out of the Dublin office. Like, it's really going well, and it's great for Dublin because they're hiring. I think they hired 600 people since lockdown. So there's a lot of ups and downs with the kind of startup feel, but I think the net benefit is quite good.
I think there's, like, a massive movement over the next while to really provide products for SMEs and stuff. So, you know what I mean? Who wouldn't have been able to operate at enterprise level. So I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that focus on stuff like that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're so that's the HubSpot story here. Mark, we are pushing our hour as usual. The time always flies by here. We're kind of really enjoying this. But Mark kind of has a party piece that we throw in towards the end of a podcast here. We call it the lightning round. It's been called the quick fire questions. They don't have to be quick fire answers, but we've got some really interesting answers over the last 8 months or whatever. So, Mark, what do you think? Do you have are you on holiday?
Yeah. No, I have them on here. I can bring them up on the computer.
Because I did it last week with our other guest Conor, and I was just completely winging it. I don't even know if they're the right ones. I didn't have them in front of me, so just like so. And then I don't know how well that went. But anyway, Mark, go on, go for it.
Okay. What apps do you use the most, Conor?
Gmail, Google Calendar, WhatsApp. Yeah, probably.
What's your favorite social media and why?
Instagram, because I suppose I use it for Matic. We did use it for the most, and we got the most kind of ROI from that, which is, yeah.
Are you hands-on with the Instagram, or do you have a team that does it just out of interest?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so I would have managed it solely up until recently enough.
Okay.
And it's something I enjoy. Like you're able to kind of create that voice for a brand. There's more people involved now, though. Yeah.
Let's go.
What's the best business idea you never acted upon?
Love this one.
Or do you want to give it away?
Yeah, I don't mind. What's the best business idea you never acted upon? From a smaller scale, I had an idea where I tried to raise funds for like 6 years ago, for a platform for social housing. So it was basically trying to like crowdfund money to get it built, to expedite getting it built, because there's such a demand and such a need for it. And I thought, like, number one, it's an idea where you could really like be proud of, and that like you're helping a massive need. And number two, it's something that scale, but couldn't get the money over the line, unfortunately.
It's mad that you're talking about that 6 years ago, and the problem just got worse and worse. It never really got better. You would think that it can be frustrating, the housing element, because with crowdsourcing nowadays and with certain deals that you can do or the government can do with bonds and all that type of stuff, it seems just crazy how the lack of action on that, even over the last 5 years, has been just really bad. But so maybe we'll get that done at some stage. Mark, you look like you're.
We'll circle back.
You know what? We're gonna put a pin in that, then we'll double click on that later. But Mark.
Okay, what time do you get up in the morning, and what time do you go to sleep?
About 6:30 in the morning, and then maybe 11.
Okay, sounds like you don't sleep, the amount of stuff you're doing, but you're obviously getting some in there.
Depends on the stress levels. Yeah.
If you could do business anywhere in the world, where would it be?
In the States.
Any particular reason? The market?
Just for the scale, yeah, particularly in what I'm doing. And both sides, even from a restaurant point of view, we always felt like that if we opened that Mad Egg in the States, probably have 150 locations instead of 3, like just the way you can actually grow things. Like,
I love the idea of the American thing. I mean, Mark talked about this loads on the podcast, because like it's such a homogenous place, as in if it works in New York, it's likely to work in Tallahassee. Do you know what I mean? There's a big kind of crossover there. Maybe not exactly, but just with anything, it seems like the scale of business over there. I think in Ireland we have we've talked to some incredible entrepreneurs over the last 8 months, and lots of them talked about the American thing. One in particular that I spoke to has his sales team focused exclusively on America. It's a SaaS product, and the sales guys come in at 12 o'clock in the day and work till 8, and they just sell to America. They don't even interested in Ireland, because it's just such a small population.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to do that.
And Conor, do you think the US is on the horizon realistically for anything you're doing?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Mark.
Do you think the US is on the horizon realistically for anything that you have planned to do business-wise?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I definitely see ourselves with Skueeze there, and within 18 months.
Excellent. Okay. Here's a big one. How much money is enough money?
Yeah, enough passive income to a level that they don't feel obliged to or stressed to have to work again. I don't know if I don't have a number in my head.
Okay. What do you fear?
To fear, losing time the most. So just prioritizing time on things can be making sure you're choosing the right things.
Excellent. What age do you plan to retire?
Never, definitely not. It's quite a conversation I have with my dad always. When you retire, your hair goes eye, then your eyes go grey.
Yeah.
So your hair goes grey, then your eyes go grey, and that's the end of it.
I wish I had hair to go grey.
All right. Mark's already cut off that element. One more, Mark, and then we're at an hour. We'll let Conor go then.
Okay, right. Okay, two more, right? Is it what you know or is it who you know?
It's what you know, being brought to who you know.
Good answer. Very good answer.
I love that one. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, if you could advise someone to learn one skill, what would it be?
Financial literacy, definitely. Even just like your own personal financial literacy, how you spend your money, like difference between assets and liabilities, and how much money you have going out versus coming in. I think that they should just teach that in school. I have no idea why they don't teach it in school properly. Like,
yeah, I think that's a great answer, and I don't think that's come up yet. And I'd fully agree. I think it is in school. It's in accountancy, but that's an option. I never did accountancy in school, ironically enough.
So it's it
should be a prerequisite, I think.
It's a weird kind of culture thing as well. Like if you ever watch, there's a program on RTE called How to Be Good with Money, and I don't think it's correct at all. Like it's never about how do we make more money. It's all about
you save.
It seems like in Ireland, a lot of people assume that what you're earning is your limit, and just make the most out of that. But there's an unlimited amount of money out there. Say if you can't get it overnight, but say if you're struggling, you can make $5,000 extra doing something on the weekends or whatever, and then problems are gone then. But they're like, stop having that latte. That's kind of that's always the advice, especially Eddie Hobbs kind of thing. But anyway, okay, cool. So Conor, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the SharkPod today. We do have one more question for you. Would you like a mug or would you like a t-shirt?
Go to t-shirt if I can get one.
Nice. Mark will be in touch for details about that, and we'll leave it there for today. Conor, thanks very much for coming along. And Mark, shout out to the Kirklow Hotel for sponsoring Mark's location today. All right, bye.
Thanks, Conor.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.